bro. Like we are live. We are live and unprepared. We are like life. We are living life. Living life. That is an epic pun.
Alright, and
Why
this
was-
episode we start with the disappointment itself.
Yeah,
Hey,
so,
what
yeah,
is
so
up,
this is the
guys?
curious case of ObjStream because we are going backwards. So the disappointing pun is already up, and we are going to take it forward from there.
So, hey everyone, welcome to the Objective Stream. My name is Nikhil. This is MC Kaiko, aka Anuj Deshpande, now in the studio with us live on the Objective Stream. I'm repeating myself. So, let's get into the disclosure. We have potty mouths. So, if you have sensitive hearing or kids around you, wear earphones or turn off the stream completely, whichever one works out for you. And with that out of the way, I'm going to tweet about the live stream while he takes up the first topic.
What?
Yeah.
I was also tweeting about the live stream. But sure. So the first topic of the
I
day.
beat you to it, man.
The first topic of the day is, of course, the topic that comes before the second topic of the day, which is important because we have to always keep in mind that we go chronologically.
Yes. Unlike
Uh,
the Twitter feed.
Unlike Twitter feed. No.
Or
but
the Instagram feed. Or the Reddit feed.
Instagram feed is not chronological.
No. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that.
So you probably won't see a lot of posts from a lot of people
Okay.
because they haven't received enough likes.
It's just mean, man. Anyway, so this device
Okay,
in
so-
my hand is just bad, man.
So I have to do like a bunch of things to open this in pretext.
Okay, so the first first news is that so Jeff Bezos is like forming his own Starfleet alliance or something like that. I don't know
Yep.
what it's going to be called, but it's basically all the big names in the space industry except SpaceX coming
Sorry.
together and being like, you know what, we'll just go to moon and you do the rocket and I'll do the lander and you do the habitat and everything like that. So the people that are involved
So
in
it's
this,
more like an alliance?
yeah, it's an alliance. So it's like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman,
Okay.
NASA, obviously,
Mhm.
and Blue Origin. Is there Boeing as well? I think there's Boeing as well. But so basically SpaceX is going to do the rockets, and it's going to be the lead contractor. So I guess Bezos is muscling this. And the partnership will serve to pursue NASA's stated mission of getting the first American woman and next American man to the surface of the moon by 2024.
Isn't that the whole premise of the upcoming Apple show?
No, the upcoming Apple show is about how the USA lost the race to moon.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, so so it's like an alternate history.
Yeah. I understood that from the trailer.
But
That-
you are like, right now you are 2 months ahead on the Objective Stream, what are we watching thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is like a new alliance of people who want to go to space. It's being led. The mic's on, right?
Yeah. Mic's on. All good. We're good.
Yeah. So it's like a new alliance, and so the stated manned mission is 2024. Everyone is working towards that, including SpaceX. SpaceX apparently wants to send a lander in 2022, and then the manned mission in 2024. So the space wars are heating up because these are like really big names coming together.
Oh, so even Lockheed Martin is involved.
Yeah. So Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and
Why did I say
Blue Origin.
Martin? Like I was gonna say Martinez. No, Lockheed Martin.
Martini if you're James Bond.
Oh, okay. We are going there.
So
Okay.
yeah, these are.
I like the title you've put. Space Avengers Unite.
Yeah, so this is like
Yeah, this is pretty much Space
because
Avengers.
there's even Batman. I don't know if you want to call SpaceX Batman or Superman, which is the DC version. Let's call him Batman.
I would call him. No, I wouldn't call. I would call him Oliver Queen, Green Arrow. like, why would you call Elon Musk Batman?
No, I'm just calling SpaceX something
Wayne
which
Enterprises?
is not Avengers. Because this is
Like Wayne Enterprises?
eh,
Exactly. Oliver Queen fits better. Anyways, moving on to the next topic. Can I take this one?
yes.
Okay, no, it is the second topic on your list. So Google devices is the title he has put. I would like to start with the Pixel 4 and the fuck up that it is.
Oh man, there are a lot of things. Like I have a lot of questions.
So the very first thing I want to start off with is the 90 hertz display that Google has put on it, which will only run at 90 hertz if it is running at a brightness of 75% or above. Now, here's my problem with this whole shindig that Google is doing. Razer has managed to do it at 90 hertz. OnePlus is doing it at, I believe, 75 or 90. I'm not sure which one it is.
Okay.
Asus on their ROG phone is doing proper 120.
Okay.
I don't get what Google's problem is.
Not
So-
enough time.
Why? Okay, did you watch the live stream?
No, I didn't watch the live stream. I saw the.
My god, it
I saw
was
the-
worse than last year. I thought last year's live stream was bad because obviously it is not like they're doing a real time thing
Okay.
on stage, right? It's all pre recorded. And at the last year's event, when one of the demos was being done, the audio was playing further ahead than the presenter was speaking.
You. Okay.
So that kind of gave off the whole thing that it was pre-recorded, right? This year they were like,
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Oh,
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
this.
So but this year they were like, no, last year wasn't embarrassing enough. We have to make it weirder. We have to make it shittier. We have to make it the worst possible live stream people have seen or will see in this decade, and they pulled it off.
Thank God then I didn't watch it because I was busy, I think, and then I just caught up on the gist of
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad. And then you have the Pixel 4, which is, first off, you have the 90 hertz, which runs at 60 if it's below 75%. Then you have a huge camera cutout, but only 2 cameras in it. And the big fat notch on the top. I don't get this phone. Plus, one of the biggest USPs of the Pixel phones was that you could upload raw photos to Google Photos.
Okay.
That is no longer there now with the Pixel 4.
Okay. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. The storage thing.
The storage thing.
Yeah.
Right? So people were like, oh, you know what? You can buy the latest iPhones and you get free unlimited backup with the HEIC files.
Right.
And people made a huge deal about it. And then Google realized, oh shit, that is actually true. And we are actually doing that. So then they released a statement that, oh, it's a bug and we are going to be fixing it soon.
That's lame.
So if you think you're being smart and cool, no, sometimes you don't.
Right. So Pixel 4 was. So there's a lot to digest about Pixel 4. So there's a new radar chip, which is interesting because it means that you can do this, and it has situational awareness. But why would I be like doing hand gestures in front of my phone is what I'm wondering. Like a phone, it makes sense for a Pixel book.
A Pixel, like something like this form factor, yeah, it makes sense because I can just do this.
Exactly.
And it kind of works in a way. But for a phone,
And that's interesting because they also announced Nest Mini, Google Nest Mini, or whatever you want to call that speaker, but it does not have a solid chip, and that's like the perfect thing for that.
yes, like, wait, doesn't it's either the Sonos speakers or the Apple HomePod that has the gestures, right?
Yeah, I think Apple HomePod has the gesture, something like that.
Yeah. So complete missed opportunity.
Right. So and that would have been good.
So going back to
Also,
streams ago,
no ultra wide.
does it qualify as a smart speaker?
Oh God.
No, I won't start that debate all over
man,
again.
that we should schedule something which is like dedicated for that. But
Pixel
anyways, there
features
is no
that they
ultra wide
developed rather
camera,
than-
but the night camera is pretty dope.
Tosar has a good point.
So,
Pixel has features that they developed rather than what makes sense for a phone.
Yeah.
Completely makes sense.
Oh man, that's
Very
such a good summary because because it's like, see, the radar chip was something that they were working on and they wanted to put it in Levi's jackets. So this was like 3 or 4 years ago at Google I/O.
Okay.
Like Levi's came on stage and they're like, we are working with Google to make jackets so that it's like wearables and stuff like that, right?
Okay.
So that's what they were working for on these radar chips, and now they've just put that in a phone.
Okay.
Which absolutely doesn't make sense because it was for something else. It was for like smart straps for a watch or a jacket or stuff like that. That's where their original intention for these chipsets was, and now they've just replaced it as like they put it next to a camera and they're like, you know what, we'll use it here. So it's like we have something that we developed something like developed for something
and
else,
we
and
think it may be cool to
and
have
maybe
on a
later,
phone, and people might like to. So here's my argument going back to eternity, and it's kind of a iPhone versus Android phones argument that Google repeatedly makes things which, you know, if you think about it, it's mostly targeted towards, you know, people who use Linux or Unix platforms,
Not
right?
really.
Where you know, to get things actually done on a particular device or their piece of hardware, you need some kind of, you know, Unix know-how. Right? So the early Linux Android phones were like that.
Yeah, early Android phones were like that, but I
Right?
don't think the Pixel series is like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Pixel
the
series is
Pixel series is more for the photography aspect on
Right.
smartphones, and as the name implies, the Pixel phones. Because previous to that, they had the Nexus series.
right.
The Nexus phones were some of the best phones Google produced, but they were never made by Google.
No,
So that says a lot.
right.
So have Google produce the devices, but not actually manufacture them.
Right.
Right. So go back to soliciting these services from Motorola and. One moment. Sagar, let us know if that is better.
Thank you, Sagar. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali, Bhau. Okay, so go back to soliciting services from Motorola and
HTC.
LG, HTC, and go back to these companies, have them make the hardware while you supply the software, synchronize it all together, and produce those phones. Google, you are incapable and utterly bad at making hardware. Do not do that.
No, I don't.
Make your servers.
No, I think it's not there.
Make your software. Don't make your hardware.
Okay, so that's. I can't exactly agree with that in isolation because there are other things that Google makes. The TPU thing that they're making.
Sorry, what?
TPU. The chipset for their cloud.
So that's what I'm saying. Stick to the server hardware.
Server hardware is good.
Stick to the server hardware. Stick to the software.
Even the Google Mini is nice. It's loud. I've used a Google Mini next to an Echo Dot.
No, but here's my question. How much of the Google Mini did Google manufacture?
I think all of it.
Including the speakers and the chips and everything.
Yeah. That was in-house.
Completely?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
they made
keep making the Google Minis.
Yeah, so they made a big deal about that in its launch.
So keep making the Google Minis. Okay, so here's the thing. Stop
Phones.
making
The phones are a
phones
problem.
and tablets. Stop making those. Just stop. You are incapable of it. Do not go there.
Oh yeah, and the whole thing about if you're sleeping, your phone can still unlock.
Yeah, your phone can still unlock your face. It
Yeah,
can even
you
do that
unlock
if
using
you're
your face.
incapacitated or dead.
Right. So like people who have incriminating stuff.
The worst is, fine, it happens. Maybe it got overlooked, or maybe it was there, but in the final release software, it bugged out and it's not working.
The thing is,
here's the problem. Google says that the fix will take at least 6 months.
so you shouldn't have launched it.
If your fix is going to take at least 6 months, this feature was never planned.
Yeah, the thing is, I saw this somewhere else as well, where there is something which exists in the market. You are basically copying that feature, which is okay. It's not always a bad thing. but you are not copying its functionality altogether. For example, the Raspberry Pi USB-C power situation. There are some chargers, so there's one or two small components that are missing from the Raspberry Pi hardware, which make it useless with, for example, MacBook chargers.
Okay.
Which was like stupid because that's such a common thing. Right?
Yep.
And then the Raspberry Pi, it was an oversight, and we'll fix it in a revision.
Okay.
Similarly, Pixel is making something which unlocks using a phone, unlocks using your face. Sorry. In that case, you have to look at the functionality that everyone else has and compare it with that.
Yeah. Like almost... No.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't compare it with anyone else.
No, you should.
Because
at least
I'll tell you
have
why.
the
I'll tell you why. Because absolutely any fingerprint can unlock the Samsung phone, S10 or Note 10, whichever it is.
Yeah, the in-screen screen.
Yeah, so make sure whoever you're copying from has their tech working properly. For example, iPhones. Yeah, just don't copy Apple's keyboards. Copy anything, but don't copy their keyboards. Please.
Right.
Ever. Alright, moving on to the next topic.
Next topic, there are a bunch of other hardware things that they launched.
Right.
For example,
are they worth talking about?
Yeah, the Google Pixel Buds are okay.
God damn, those look ugly.
Yeah, it's like, they look like earrings.
No, I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the Surface ones which Microsoft announced. I'm sorry. I take that back.
No, these ones are like big circle things. They look like earrings to me, but...
No, that is the Microsoft one. That is what I'm saying.
No, I'm talking about the Google Pixel.
What? So these will be the Pixel Buds 2.
Yeah, these ones, like, I don't like the way these looks. It's like a dot.
Yeah, the Microsoft ones are uglier. But hey, according to, I'm going by Marquez's review. So MKBHD, when he reviewed the Pixel Buds 1, he said that they were good. Not comparable directly to the AirPods, but good. So I'm hoping there are a bunch of improvements on the Pixel Buds 2. But okay, wait, what? So, what?
Have you not looked at these?
No, I didn't even know they were on. What? Okay, so why have this whole shape and thing and these big things when it's eventually like this is the primary shape, this is the primary speaker.
Yeah.
So why have all of this additional?
I'm not sure. That's what I said.
What?
I'm not exactly on board them.
So this is Google's video and it's titled Tiny Floating Dots bar Google Pixel Buds. No. Google, stop.
Anyway, so Google Pixel Buds were announced. Nest Mini was announced. So now Google Home Mini is the next version of that is going to be called Nest Mini.
Nest Mini, okay. Those are good cameras. Again, not made by Google.
Not cameras.
Sorry.
Google Home Mini, the small speaker.
Okay, so they're going to be called Nest Mini.
Yeah, they're going to be called Nest Mini.
I thought they launched a mini version of the cameras.
No.
Oh,
So
my bad.
So that's the Nest Mini and pretty good sound performance.
That doesn't make sense.
No, I don't know why. No, it's like it's their whole thing that now they have to integrate Nest into their brand.
So why don't make the Nest cameras the Google? No, okay, that would be creepy.
Yeah, Google cameras is probably bad marketing.
Horrible marketing.
So Nest Mini is there. Then they have Nest Wi-Fi, which is basically just like Google Home.
Yeah, right.
Google Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, the ones
mesh
you have.
routers.
Yeah. Wait, it's called something else. What are they called?
Mesh routers.
No. The product name from Google. What is
Google
it called?
Wi-Fi.
No, it's not called Google Wi-Fi. It's called entirely something else. What you have set up in your house, right?
Yeah.
What I had gotten to review.
Yeah.
Wait, is it called Google Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think it's called something else.
Oh, it's Google Wi-Fi. They had previous versions of it, which were called something else. I think my brother has that. I forget the name of that. But yeah, the previous versions.
Wasn't it called something else?
Yeah, it was a different name.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
The earlier versions.
Right.
And then they launched the Google version, which was called Google Wi-Fi.
All right.
So now the new Nest Wi-Fi, it's like a Wi-Fi mesh router plus it's a voice assistant. So it will give you better coverage for your devices, plus it will have a voice assistant on it.
I'm still creeped out about
Yeah.
having all of these on hub.
On-hub devices.
It was called on hub.
Yeah, so essentially what
Cursor
they did
coming
was-
in clutch as always.
Yes. So the older devices which were in partnership with TP-Link and everyone
Right.
else were called on-hub devices. And then they launched their own
Own.
worlds, which
Yep.
were called Google Wi-Fi.
For some reason, so he gave me the Google Home Mini to review,
Yeah.
and it worked very poorly. He gave me the mesh routers to review, and they worked very poorly.
No, your house.
He takes it home, and then they just start magically working normally.
Yeah. I've never had
What
issues
the
with
F?
either of them. So I think this particular house has issues with Google
Google
products.
products, yeah.
Mhm.
I strongly believe
That's how fanboyism is. Like that's how much fanboyism goes on in this house. But anyway, so Nest. Mini
I had a
is
very
the-
weird quip on that, but I'll tell it to you off camera because
Okay.
it's pretty personal.
So Nest Mini was one. Nest Wi-Fi is another. I think the Nest Wi-Fi is a good product. I'm not sure with Google behind it. I'd probably not buy it. But as a product line, I think it makes sense that each of your rooms should have a mesh router and a voice assistant. Privacy concerns aside. It's going to happen. Whether
You heard
want
it here first,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Whether you want it or not. Plus, they launched the Pixelbook Go, which is the new Chromebook.
Good lord.
It,
What
it,
a
it's
giant mess.
it's got this grip at the bottom to hold it, which is pretty interesting. I think I've never
Nyeh.
seen that on a laptop.
Nyeh.
It's a new thing. I'm not sure
Nyeh.
how it's going to work out, but I've never seen that on a laptop. Like a grip kind of thing, texture at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah.
It's pretty new, man.
Yep.
And I guess that's it. Nest Mini, Nest Wi-Fi. So there's some announcement about the handheld console Stadia. It's going to come out soon.
Yeah, those thin bars.
Thin bars.
Yeah.
And Pixel 4 with its Soli chip and not ultra wide camera.
So
And,
basically, what he's trying to say is thank you, Google, very much for boring us for yet another year and ending the decade on a very, very boring and disappointing note, just like all of our live streams. All right, so moving on to the next topic. The Indian government wants to regulate social networks. I think the title is a bit misleading.
yeah. No.
The title is grossly misleading.
Why?
They so this was recently taken up in the Supreme Court for hearing,
Right.
because there are some cases in the Supreme Court which lead up to this,
Okay.
right? And the Supreme Court was like, yeah, we reserve the right to both the government and the Supreme Courts or other courts reserve the right to issue global takedown notices to social networks like X, Y, and Z
Right.
if the content is found to be misleading or inciting communal violence, etc., etc.,
Right.
which makes sense. However, these are the cases that are currently going on in the Supreme Court. What this document states is basically creating a Skynet version, an AI Skynet version that actively and automatically regulates social networks. So they're also trying to amend the Information Security Act, a bunch of clauses in there, which essentially makes, and okay, so I'm glad we are talking on this topic, which essentially makes this is the wrong term, keep that in mind, public speech, free speech on these public social networks outright illegal. And with some recent changes to a bunch of laws coming across these, the government can just call you a threat to public security, term you as a terrorist, and convict you of a bunch of things. Now, I was recently watching The Van Show, and I have this noted down, so I was hoping I get to talk about this.
Wow, we are doing notes and shit now.
This is a very interesting thing. So, Linus Tech Tips Van Show of the 11th of October at minute 36 and 30 seconds, Linus makes a very good argument.
Okay.
Where he says that free speech, where it is allowed by the law of the land, is free speech as long as it's not on someone else's platform. Okay?
I don't get it.
Okay. Now, if you're claiming free speech on a platform like Twitter, you are also have to comply with Twitter's own bylaws about what kind of content you can post to its service.
Okay.
Because Twitter ultimately owns that content,
Right.
not you.
Right.
So you have to also play by their rules.
Okay.
So a certain thing may be illegal in your state. Saying something may be illegal in your state.
Right.
Okay. So just for example, this is not true. It's a hypothetical situation. Talking about the KKK is made illegal in India.
Okay.
Okay. Now you cannot post any content about the KKK
Okay.
on Twitter. But Twitter itself allows that. Does not make it legal for you to go and talk about it on Twitter. It's still illegal.
But this is making...
Right, okay. Now take the reverse. Talking about the KKK comes under free speech,
Okay.
but Twitter may disallow it.
Okay.
Again, hypothetical. Twitter does not disallow it. Again, hypothetical. Say Twitter disallows it.
Right.
You cannot talk about the KKK.
Right.
So if you post about the KKK and Twitter takes it down,
Right.
it is within Google's rights to do so. And you cannot claim free speech as a rebuttal.
Right. So your argument is that these are privately owned networks and we cannot hold them to the same laws as, for example, me holding a rally in Pune.
No. You can. And you should.
No.
No.
I can't.
It's okay. So there are two separate problems here. What you're talking about
I should is wishful thinking, but I don't have any legal premise.
You don't have any legal
So
premise.
why would I?
No, but that's the point.
So I'm
No.
I don't want to rely on anything which is
These
Google's
are two separate
generosity.
issues. These are two separate issues.
No,
that
it's the
we're
same
discussing.
issue. I'm saying that people relying on Google's generosity by saying you should support free speech is stupid. Google will do what Google does.
Google do, yeah, exactly. Because it's their platform, they own it, they run it, they pay for it.
Right. So we don't have a say in Google's
Yeah.
how Google conducts its business. So my question is, do we want new social networks which are absolutely like wild west?
No,
where there are no
we
rules?
do not want that.
So there are some now.
Yeah,
Even
there
if you
are
don't-
some now.
Gap.com.
And yeah, there are some. And I believe Luke brought up this point
Right.
in the same network for this same discussion.
Right.
Right? He spoke about this where he says that, there are no rules there and, you can just talk about anything and like
You can have any opinion.
any opinion and whatever. Right? And that should not be allowed. Or wait, that did not sound right. That should be discouraged.
There is no way.
You can stop it. I know you can't
Exactly.
control it.
My point is there should always be such networks because should and should not has no legal premise. So when you
True.
say that this should be discouraged, there
yeah.
is no legal premise for
Absolutely.
that. There is no
I agree
legal
with you.
terminology for that.
I agree with
And
you.
right now, all I'm concerned about is the legality for this because this is something that is happening in courts.
This is no. So what's happening in courts right now is the precursor to this. Right?
Whatever.
So whatever.
I don't want to get at what stage this is because I don't understand those terms.
So here's the tricky part. If what happens in court goes like if the court gives out a verdict which is not favorable for this,
right.
the government will have to pull this and create an entire new draft, complying with whatever the Supreme Court's verdict is.
Right. So
Right?
that's the thing, right? For example,
So-
if Gap.com becomes a hit in India,
Right.
and according to this particular document, has more than 50 lakh users in India. The government will want to get involved in that.
Yes.
Which is a problem.
But also,
because when the government is involved, it's always a legal stance.
It's always a legal stance.
And there is no discouraging or encouraging.
Yeah, then it is what...
Then it is whims and fancies of people in the government.
Yes, absolutely. No, not people in the government.
Yes.
It's always up to maximum 5 people who determine what happens.
People in the government. So that's the main issue that I have, because I get that, social networks have policies which encourage certain types of discussions. For example, LTT will want technical discussion, and discourage political discussions, for example, or discourage opinions which do not identify with their employees or with their management.
Sure,
and
absolutely.
That is fine. That's your private network. But if there are any wild west social networks, I should be allowed to do absolutely anything on them without having to resort to anonymous usernames.
Wait, what is 4chan? 4chan is another site that comes to mind.
Right.
And plus it is anonymous, I believe. So,
yeah, so...
And 4chan got some flack. Wait, was it 4chan or
4chan got some flack because...
No, wait,
4chan,
which one was it?
4chan was some...
yeah.
It got some flack because people who are shooting up schools and stuff were posting on 4chan before they did that.
Yikes.
So it got a very bad rep for that, because they're like, where are your policies and why aren't you reporting these things and stuff like that. So I don't like holding social networks accountable for this is, I don't think, the effective way to prevent
so
such
let
stuff.
me put it this way. Should these social networks run by private companies be regulated by the companies and the users? Sure. By governments? Absolutely not. Any government, not just the Indian government, any government whatsoever across space-time.
The government outright banning such a social network, is that cool? Because they don't, like, our values don't match, so let's just ban the social network in India.
So that is a very good question. I really do not have an answer to, because I have not honestly thought about this. And no, it's a very good question.
Right.
I have not thought about this, and the implications of no matter which side I choose are very gross. Right? Even if I say yes, the implications of that are horrible. Even if I say no, the implications of that are horrible. There are more cons on either side than pros.
I think anarchism is the way forward. The more you try to grasp something like sand,
right,
the
faster it goes out. Yeah. Yep.
And this is exactly like sand.
And this whole thing is still a draft, and I believe the government is requesting feedback. But unfortunately, if I understand this process correctly, a general citizen cannot submit their feedback, and even if you do, somehow it won't be read. All right, moving on to the next topic.
It's also about censorship. So BBC, which is a very, very old broadcasting and news institution, is now also on Tor, because censorship is on the rise everywhere. Exhibit A is previous topic.
Exhibit B is Australia. What happened recently in Australia?
Also China.
China, Hong Kong.
Those places. So in general, censorship is on the rise. Tor networks are places. It's a network where, while you enter the Tor network, it can be seen that you are entering the Tor network, but once you are inside, it's pretty difficult to keep a track of who's who. So that's the kind of
not just who's who, but who's where.
Who's where, right? So that's the thing, right? Where, like, you have to be careful about using Tor, because there are, like, you have to really understand
How the whole system
yeah,
works.
the pitfalls of it. But for those who understand that, it serves as a good place to access information that might otherwise be censored. And BBC launching their service also on Tor is a good sign, and I hope others follow suit. Which would be good, because then people would realize that their censorship doesn't necessarily work.
So, again, similar to Tor, what you have are VPNs.
And NordVPN got hacked.
Bad. No, okay, so let's...
So NordVPN is one of those popular VPNs because they have collaborated a lot
with a lot of YouTubers and a lot of other influencers and gotten the word out there.
Right.
And the worst part was, like, they didn't get hacked in the sense that, the usernames and stuff was leaked or something, and that happened. But the private certificates of their services, which their apps use to connect to their services, like when you install their VPN app, it uses that private certificate to know that it's actually connecting to NordVPN.
Right.
That got compromised. So now that was available publicly, and for reasons still unknown to everybody on the planet, you cannot release software updates quickly enough, especially on iOS, because of how slow review times are and how dumb the process is and opaque the process is. But that point, besides that point, this whole thing was a huge fuck up, and it kind of released some interesting details to the general public. These VPN services, when you're paying for it, they're no different from life insurances, which basically use your fear to sell you a product. So you fearing that your privacy is at stake, and this is how they make money. So a very interesting point I read somewhere, and he said that this is their business. They sell you fear, they sell you doubt, then they sell you your product.
It's not always that. Like, I have to disagree here, because VPN services are also used to a big extent to circumnavigate
geo restrictions. No, I'm coming to that. So what he suggested was that if you really want a VPN service thing on your devices, just spin up your own server. It is going to cost you the same thing. It's going to cost you the same amount of money. That server is then completely dedicated for you to use, and you can get it in the nearest geographical location available to your own location, and you can just use it. And then you can be sure that if you want to log your traffic, you can log it. If you don't want to log it, you won't log it, and so on. And then there are again no restrictions on the number of devices that can simultaneously connect. So either on your own VPN service, or use a known good VPN provider.
There is no such thing as a known good VPN provider.
Exactly.
Like, how can you?
Exactly.
So it's like
exactly.
It's a hard problem to solve. It's a very hard problem to solve.
So I hope someone has made one of these things. Nowadays I'm seeing like one-click deploy GitHub repos.
Right.
Where you just click on a button and it just runs a bunch of actions and it deploys a certain app for you.
So, have you heard of WireGuard?
No.
So WireGuard is a new thing. It's a very relatively new thing. It got merged into Linux mainline, I think, a few months ago.
Okay.
Probably a month or 2 months ago. But it is one of those things which will make VPNs a lot more... I want to say better.
Okay.
I haven't tried out WireGuard, honestly, and I'm not sure about how exactly it works, so I don't want to say a lot, but a lot of people think that it's got the potential to solve all of these problems that we're talking about.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that's something that I want to try. So the next time some VPN gets hacked and we talk about it on the show, I'll probably have tried out
WireGuard. Yeah, I'm probably going to do that on the weekend, because this is the first weekend that I'm going to be by myself and free after a very long time. It's solo time.
Is your fiancée watching this?
It does not mean what you think it means.
Yes.
I hope she's not watching this.
Yeah. Moving on to the next topic of the day.
Hold on, I had something that I wanted to talk about. Just a moment there. No, we've covered it all. We're good. We're good, baby.
So the next topic is about Firefox. Firefox is doing a lot of good things these days. They launched their own app for the...
I don't have this link, so you're going to have to send it to me.
Yeah, so Firefox launched... Fifth topic.
I don't have it. You shared the document via a message, so it does not get updated.
Anyway, so Firefox is doing a lot of interesting things these days. One of those things is they have launched their own independent standalone password manager, which was previously integrated to that. Launching it as an app is a good thing because then people can use it with their other services and devices. Plus, they are now launching a translate service.
Within the browser.
Yeah, within the browser, like Google has, which is great news because that was one of the things I always had to do when browsing Chinese websites. Like I always had to use Chrome.
Okay, so someone help me here. I am having a superb hard time trying to convince people to move away from Chrome and just use Firefox or Edge or anything.
Inertia. It's all inertia. There's nothing else.
Like I am having like the primary excuse, and it's an excuse, it's not a reason, is that I have all my stuff synced on Chrome.
Yeah.
Firefox can import it. Edge can import it.
No, but the thing
all
is,
of it.
Everyone's primary. Like unless Firefox comes up with a mail service,
which I don't expect them to do.
That's the thing, because everyone has a Google account and it's so easy to log in and sync everything.
Mozilla, I don't know if they still work on that, but Mozilla had a email client called Thunderbird.
They still have.
Which was one of the best email clients for Windows.
It had an RSS feed reader.
Yes, and that is what I used to use until I discovered Google Reader. And when I discovered Google Reader, I jumped on that. And then it died, and then I cried for a good 8 years until I had a spark of genius and I made Elytra.
I was using Feedly after Google Reader died. Feedly sucked. And then I just gave up on RSS feeds. And then after Elytra, I started using it.
I was using NetWrangler as the sync service. The problem with that is that it has no UI of its own of any kind. So it's just the API.
Right.
And because of that, you had to rely on a third-party service.
So every couple of days, I'll just tweet #Google Reader, #never forget.
Space https://elytraapp.com. Elytra.app.
Never forget. Always in my thoughts.
STP. #STP.
HTTPS. Elytra.app.
Like make a template. Like copy this and save it to notes or something.
Yep.
Alright. Moving on to the last topic. Intel wants back in the tablet space with its new Tremont architecture.
Yeah, so basically Intel had Pentium and Celeron lines. Then Intel had Atom lines.
Yep.
And then there were a lot of laptops, low-end laptops that had Atom processors, or more importantly, there were tablets that had Atom processors.
Phablets.
And they were bad.
So now Intel wants to use this new architecture, which is... so I was reading earlier on this, and it claims to have up to 80% performance increase in IPC at half the power of the Sunny Cove chips. Whatever, like the Sunny Cove chip running at half its power is what these chips can do and give you up to 80% improved IPC. So, you know how that joke is that Americans will measure using anything but the
Metric
metric system.
Yeah.
Intel will measure using anything possible except for a simple standardized way of saying it.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like Intel has to realize that they are not competing against their older older architectures.
You're competing against your competitors.
Yeah, you're competing against Qualcomm in this case, right? Because Apple is now going to use that,
Yeah,
and like they're not even going
Qualcomm
to
and
try for that.
Samsung
Yeah, so
for their
they
Exynos
are
chips.
competing against somebody else altogether, and there's no point talking about how this is different than Atom. Like you have to talk about how this is better than Snapdragon
Yeah, better than say the Snapdragon. What is it? The
8 series probably.
no. Wait, it's not even called the Snapdragon. It's called something else.
Okay, you lost me now.
It's the chip is by Qualcomm,
Right.
but it's not the Snapdragon series. It's called something else entirely.
Okay.
And anyways, besides the point. So Intel keeps doing this, where they keep saying that our latest generation has
Better than-
50%
yeah.
improvement in performance over our last generation stuff, which is similar to what Apple does, and it annoys the living shit out of me. AMD does the same thing, but they also say this is how it performs against our competitors. And when AMD released the 3 series Ryzen chips, they were not afraid to show a chart on screen where they actually showed Intel performing better in a particular test. If Intel performs better, it performs better. Big shit. Our chips do better everywhere else except for say 2 tests. Still a win for AMD. Intel on the other hand, we do 50% better than the last time, and we do 80% better than the last time, and we are a million times better than the computer that was on the Apollo 11 spacecraft. Doesn't make sense.
Nobody cares.
So stop doing that and buckle up. Hey, Nvidia does the same shit. Our GPUs perform 50% better than the last time. Okay, so x86 on tablets, the closest thing is Microsoft Surface. Yep. That train has left long time ago, and Intel has lost the game except laptops
I found
which...
this on the web.
Sorry. Is not even that impressive with Ryzen U's graphics.
I think this might be interesting. The whole Atom thing might, the new architecture thing, not Atom, might be interesting for routers and other such devices.
But I don't think that is where Intel is going with it.
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Let's see how this
highly
pans out,
doubt it.
because a couple of
These
years ago,
chips don't have any radio chips on the SoC
yeah, of course, that's always extra.
at all.
Yeah.
So that is the thing that struck out to me the most. Intel is planning these chips for mobile computing devices.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have, say, a 4G or a 3G chip, or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth built into the SoC, unlike every other chip they've had.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So all the previous gens had Wi-Fi Bluetooth built in.
Okay.
Since I believe the first Skylake. Okay, so I believe the first Skylake gen, like Skylake Gen 1, was the first one to have Bluetooth Wi-Fi on the SoC itself.
Okay.
These skipped that.
I'm
So I really
not
don't get the
aware of
point here. Like, what is Intel trying to do? Like,
Low power.
where do these go? They
Low
say
power.
tablets, but come on, tablets need Wi-Fi and
No,
Bluetooth.
it's not tablets like these. It's like point of sale devices and vending machines and ATMs. It's
But
it's
why
not.
would-
It's
but
not.
no, but then why
this-
would Intel say mobile computing devices?
those are mobile computing devices?
Okay, so they are not personal mobile computing
not personal
devices.
mo-
They are
they're
still
enterprise.
computing devices. Yes, I see your point. Okay. Hey, fair point. Fair point.
So
All
that's
right.
the last.
So that
news.
leaves us with nothing else but what are we watching?
So I'm watching Mr. Robot.
Yep.
Uh,
How's that going? How's season 5?
season 4, and it's
4.
so far it's
Okay.
So it's the
Right.
last season, and the story is going to wrap up here, and it's still blowing my mind. It's crazy.
So he and another friend of ours who's in the chat right now, they were discussing this in the afternoon while I was trying to grab a nap, and that kind of kept me awake. But anyways, besides the point, they were discussing, and Chinmay had to say that reality feels more. Wait, what did he exactly say? I'm
So
paraphrasing
he's
here, and he's like,
why do you need to watch Mr. Like,
Mr.
he's a
Robot.
big fan of, he's a huge
Yeah.
fan of Mr. Robot. He's like, why do you need to watch Mr. Robot? Because the same shit is happening in real life.
happening in real life, and it's better in real life. Like, the real life feels like some drama playing
Yeah.
right before your eyes, and he's not wrong. It's scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
The second one is yours too.
Yes, so I'm
Go
also
on.
watching. I also watched. It's almost like a movie because it's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. But Edward Snowden was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it was a pretty interesting episode. Pretty dope.
So, remind me, where is Snowden right now?
Russia.
Russia. Okay.
So he joined via Skype or whatever you want to call it,
Understood.
and it was a pretty amazing episode.
So I just
Uh,
have it in the chat, so I remember the link, so I can
Right.
go and check it out later.
I also watched El Camino.
We talked about it on the last stream.
Did we watch?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was the same that was the last.
Yeah. We did talk about it. And anything else?
I think that's it. That's all the things that I've watched.
Have you watched Titans?
No.
Come on.
There's a new Watchmen TV series.
Yep.
I have to watch that.
Yep.
Because I've watched
gonna
the
watch it
Watchmen movie very recently, and I was completely blown away by that.
Oh yeah, you watched it for the first time recently.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Anurag, one of our other friends,
Right.
he was like, "You have
Ram.
to watch it." Yeah, Ram. Anurag, also known fondly as Ram.
Ram, yes.
So he he was like, "You have to watch it. It's like the greatest superhero movie ever," and I kind of agree with that. It's just blew my mind.
It's a pretty legit movie.
Yeah.
Like you have to. What's his name? Shit. God damn it! What is that character's name?
Which
the one who wears the mask.
Rochester,
No, the word.
Roshan,
Rorschach.
God.
What are those patterns?
Watchmen.
Rorschach. So, there's a comic book series of Batman and him.
What? Are you kidding?
I'm not.
Man,
And it's all like detective stuff. And it is
fine stuff.
legit fun to read.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that out.
You have
I've
to
never
check
been
that out.
big on never been big on comic books.
Right.
But if it's Rorschach and Batman,
It is fun. It is fun. So definitely go check that out. November 1 Apple TV stuff. Yes, can't wait. My
Yes.
brother and I were just discussing about it. And
I think the first two things are C by Jason Momoa, and then
the morning show
morning show with Jennifer Aniston, Steve
and
Carell, and a couple of other
the
people.
space one.
I don't think that's coming out for another month.
Really?
I think so.
So there are a bunch. I believe there are 6 shows that are coming on the 1st of November, or that week, and so on. So let's see. My brother and I were just discussing. So everyone who's bought new devices this year, everything that was launched, you get a free year's worth of Apple TV Plus. And we were just discussing. So I recently got the Series 5, and we were just discussing. And I don't think I am eligible to get it on the watch, but I'm going to check it
That
out
would be too
anyways.
much.
But it doesn't make sense for me because there is no way I can play this on my TV. My TV does not have AirPlay 2 or any of that. So there's absolutely no way for me to get it playing on my TV.
One of the news things that Chinmay Thosar did tell us today that Fire TV Stick, I checked it later.
Has Apple
Yeah,
TV support now.
Yeah, it happened last week or something
Yeah.
like that. So Fire TV Stick has the Apple TV app now.
Yeah.
Which is great. What I'm wondering is if it's also going to be on Android TVs.
No, I doubt it.
Why?
Because
Apple Music is on.
No. So this is like a sort of an agreement Apple and Amazon made, because Amazon Prime was not there on Apple TVs for a bit, the hardware bit.
Okay.
So they kind of made an agreement where Amazon Prime comes, like Prime Video comes on this,
Right.
and Apple gets to put their app on their hardware.
But Apple Music has been there on Androids.
Yeah, but that's Apple publishing it.
Yeah, so Apple TV publishing it on Android.
It kind of makes sense from a subscription services thing.
Right, because that's a new thing for
Yeah,
Apple, right?
Absolutely. So Apple is going all in on subscriptions and services. However, it also still makes sense for Apple to sell their hardware to watch it on.
Yeah, but if you're doing it on Fire TV Stick, you also don't care about Android TVs.
Yep.
So I think Apple will.
So now I'm just wondering if I should get an Apple TV, because I still hope Apple is releasing a new Apple TV.
Yeah, wait for another month to find out.
Yeah.
I doubt.
I just want them to release a new one which has like better HDR support, like 4K 60 HDR.
Last year was it earlier this year? They announced AirPlay 2 support for a lot of TVs.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's.
But it still does not get the Apple TV
experience
UI and experience.
So I don't think they'll launch something unless they also have something for Apple Arcade on it. Unless they have like a console experience for the new Apple TV.
Hey Apple, you know what? Don't waste your time making a new gaming controller and all of that to
add
go
support
with
for DualShock, man, and just leave it there.
Just
stop.
add support for the PS4 and Xbox controllers. I don't know if it's already supported, but if not, I think it's supported.
I'm not sure.
I think these controllers are supported, but just add better support for them. And I again believe that's up to the game developers.
Yeah.
So keep continuing supporting that. Don't waste your time on making a new controller, because it's going to be white and space gray, and both of those are not good colors for controllers. Please don't. Just use what is there.
If they were working on a new console, we would have heard about it already. But definitely, it looks like they are not. I would be love to prove.
Or just refresh the hardware inside it with an A12X and call it a day.
Not worth it. I don't think that's a new product.
It doesn't have to be a new product. It's an upgrade to an existing product.
It's not enough delta for Apple.
Oh, so an A11 versus an A12 is enough delta. An A12 to A13 is enough delta.
It was because 4K. No, I'm talking about in terms of Apple TV, not phones. Phones are the bread and butter, so they have to do that. But with TV, I don't think they'll do that. I'd love if they prove me wrong. I'd love it.
I'm just going to wait for the new Apple TV hardware to come out, so I can buy it and call it a day and not have to change my TV. Anyways, I've been watching Titans. I'm going to watch the first episode of Watchmen tonight. I've started watching Breakfast, Lunch and Dinner featuring Joe Rogan, and I want to make him laughing high on weed. Seth Rogen, sorry. I want to make him laughing on weed my ringtone. Best shit ever.
Oh yeah, and
Laundromat. What a beautiful movie.
Yeah, Meryl Streep.
I like. Okay, so you watched the movie, right?
Yeah, I watched
no spoilers. If you see the poster, if you see the credits, Meryl Streep's name is very prominently featured, and you wonder why does she get so little screen time in the movie, right? Yeah. And then towards the end, it becomes so clear, and then the credits roll, and then you're like, it makes sense. But the two actors who played the priest and the other guy, the people who own the company.
Oh, Antonio Banderas and Gary Oldman.
Excellent delivery.
Gary Oldman is crazy, man.
I loved their dialogue.
The breadth of his roles, if you've seen, like the kind of roles that Gary Oldman has, it's crazy.
I loved their accents. I loved their dialogue deliveries. I loved their on-screen presence. It was beautiful.
Good stuff.
And Meryl Streep, like, let's end on that. Let's end an episode on a high note for a change.
We started with
We started on a disappointing note. Let's end on a high note. Thank you for watching. Happy Diwali. See you soon.